Alright, welcome to behind the scenes of my Dream Party video. I'm starting to near the end of the editing process for this, so I'm kind of doing my final pass on the watching the video itself. I'm gonna add some quote unquote title cards in there, but I think the most important thing I'm gonna be working on is adding the music. Let me shrink OBS here. Um, I'm not sure actually how the sound's gonna work because I got my speakers connected right now, and then after I finish that initial just throwing things onto the canvas, and then I'm gonna get my headphones out, monitor the sound, kind of adjust the audio levels and stuff. So I was kind of figuring it might be interesting to do a little behind the scenes thing. In all likelihood, I'm gonna speed this up, remove the audio, add some BGM or something. But I just wanted to do a little bit to kind of show the process, I guess. Maybe like one or two people might find it interesting. If not, then it's for my own archival purpose. So I've been kind of doing this process for a long time. At the very least, since I started making YouTube videos with my Eternal Sunshine of the Javeless Mind. Uh, in terms of like audio and video stuff, I use well, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. So for editing, I use Adobe Premiere. I'm using Adobe Premiere 2025, totally legit copy of it. Prior to that, I was using like 2018 or something, 2019 I think it was when I originally downloaded it onto my computer. One day I decided to upgrade. So the past couple projects have been in 2025, and it's been more or less the same. I don't get too deep into the weeds with this. I just use it because it's a pretty simple editing program, I guess. At least for my needs, and like I've learned how to do most of the things I want to do with it. Um, but in terms of getting videos in audio into there are some formats that Adobe Premiere doesn't like, namely FLAC lossless audio and MKV video. So there are a couple of ways to get audio into there or in video into there using those formats. The easiest is just to use Handbrake, and I occasionally use Handbrake if I'm lazy, but it sometimes can compromise the quality of the video. It just kind of depends on like what you kind of want from the final product and how important that particular clip is. For example, when I was doing my Eternal Sunshine of the Javelous Mind video, I knew that the final video was going to be exported in as high quality as I could possibly could, just due to the nature of it kind of being like a short film. So I knew it was going to be 1080p. So pretty much every single video and audio format in there was converted using FFmpeg for relatively lossless conversion of files and stuff. So for example, like if there was a 1080p JAV video that I had, but it was in an MKV format, I would pass it through FFmpeg and do a command. For example, like let's say it's like av.mkv right here. I would use the argument dash codec copy, and it would effectively just change the container because MKVs are a container. They're not necessarily like a format per se. It contains a video stream and an audio stream, and if you do codec copy, it kind of just muxes them down into an MP4, which in all likelihood the actual video stream in the MKV already is. So it's not a huge deal. And as far as I'm concerned, it gives like as little compromises as possible, because if you pass the same video through Handbrake, it's gonna degrade the video quality inherently because you're encoding it. For example, like if I would pass the same argument, actually let me rephrase that. So let's say this was my argument right here. This would output the AV video that I have into an MP4 without any noticeable loss of quality, just because it's changing the container. But if I would do this command without that same argument, it would start to encode it. And you can give different parameters to like what quality and you're willing to sacrifice there. But like I said, inherently when you encode any video, it's going to be down, it's going to be making it lossy, so you're going to lose quality regardless. So it just kind of depends. At the end of the day, the video is going up on YouTube, so it's not a huge deal, but at the same time, I maintain an archive. Let me show you. Well, that one's not exactly the best one. Heck, I don't even know where the final video for this one went. Maybe, oh, I think it went under completed, Eternal Sunshine, and then I have the director's cut right here. I'm not going to show too much of because I know YouTube doesn't like it. Uh, so this, I'm going to maintain my own copy of the file that's going to be in the highest quality possible. Because when you upload it into YouTube, it's going to transcode the video into whatever format YouTube prefers to deliver that the audio video experience in, and it's not necessarily going to be the best. I mean, for archival purposes, that's why I keep it. Like, I'd rather have a higher quality master than to have like a medium quality master and then upload it to YouTube and then it gets degraded even further. But I guess that's a special scenario because under the Eternal Sunshine of the Javelous Mine one was indeed one of the few 1080p videos I've produced. The reason why I would continue to use FFmpeg is because I'm autistic about some of those things. So, where was I? I was gonna be grabbing some audio here. So I have some of these singles right here. This one I think I ripped myself, but these audio files are in FLAC lossless. So, and I can't just drop them into Premiere. Premiere's not gonna like that. So it's a pretty simple command. It's just a little tedious to do if you have to do it a lot. So maybe there's better ways to do this, but this is just the way I've been doing it for a long time. I would just copy the file path. And also the reason why I have FFmpeg, I'm able to just pass that command like if I was on Linux, is because I added it as an environmental variable in Windows. So I don't have to specify like the actual like file path of FFmpeg. If I didn't add it as an environmental variable, I would have to do that. Like I would have to point to where exactly in the C drive it was. But regardless, FFmpeg-I, so then I could specify the input. And luckily you can do some tab stuff, so you can just start typing the file name and then click tab and it will autofill the rest of it. Which I don't know if it did that correctly. But I'm just going to pass it anyways. I'm going to see if that works. And then I'm going to also specify the destination folder, which I just copied, and then I'm just going to call it, I don't know, something stupid. Premonition Dream Karaoke.mp3. Let's see if it doesn't fail. No, I grabbed it. So I have Premonition Dream Karaoke right here, which is the same file that I have right here. Except as an MP3, of course. Notice in this one I didn't pass any arguments for the like the specified output quality of the MP3, because in this case I really don't give a shit. Just because, like in this case, this is gonna be BGM that's gonna be so low that it doesn't really matter. If I was doing something, for example, with the case, like the aforementioned case of Eternal Sunshine, all those were passed as 320 kilobits per second MP3 files, just to maintain like as high quality of audio as possible. And for the sake of argument, 320 kilobits per second is effectively the same as FLAC, especially in the case of YouTube, because YouTube will just downsample it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna grab 4 and do the same exact thing. It's tedious because you have to like copy back and forth, and you have to just hope you don't fuck up the commands. Shiny Road Karaoke.mp3. And converting MP3 files is pretty easy because you're able to encode them pretty quickly. Another big advantage to using FFmpeg is because in the case of using video files specifically, is if you have a massive fucking video file, for example, like once again, Eternal Sunshine, if there was a specific scene that I wanted to grab from it, I didn't have to encode the entire file. I know you can kind of do that with Handbrake, but I've always found it a little clunky. Within FFmpeg, I don't exactly remember the argument specifically, but I want to say it's like, let's say it's MKV like that. Use SS right here for, I think it's starting spot is what it's supposed to stand for. So you can specify like I want to start this at 3 minutes or 30 minutes and like 43 seconds, and then you could specify the duration of like -T, I think it is. So you can make it 5 minutes exactly, and then you would do the rest of the command like -codec copy, and you can grab exactly what you need. And the reason why I like using this specific command in FFmpeg is because, like I mentioned, you don't have to waste time encoding a massive fucking video file. Because like this would take like a second because you're only grabbing 5 minutes of this video and you're not even encoding it. But even if you did have to encode it, you're only encoding 5 minutes as opposed to like the 2 hour plus adult video file that you might need. And then also just dropping that 2 hour file into your Premiere timeline is going to be a huge pain in the ass because you really don't need like 90% of it. I mean, I don't know what project you might be doing, but you know, it's whatever. I already have Yume Mio. I'm just grabbing random audio that I think I might need. I haven't really thought too far about what I might need though. This is the same exact one. So I'm just going to go through the editing process and kind of see what I might need. Alright, I think I'm a genius. So I was looking for a specific picture because in my DreamParty video, I think this is it. This was on my short list of must-haves for a while. Listing pictures would often depict slightly yellowed jewel cases wherein the softly sun... So I'm looking for a specific picture of like a sun-faded under 17 DreamParty image song, a single DVD, single CD. I can't exactly do that with my copy because my copy is brand new and sealed. This thing has never been opened. And I was looking at stuff and I didn't see any current listings on Mercari and any on Yahoo Japan Auctions, which was kind of troubling. And it was kind of weird because if I would search like under 17 DreamParty right here, like there's only one for some reason. And like even though this is like full width or whatever, it doesn't really matter, the search. So I'm like, why is there only one? There should be more. I swear there was more. I'm not misremembering this. So then I looked on Google and I saw this picture right here. And I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This CD looks pretty used. You can kind of see that there's a little bit of yellowing around right there. This is the type of thing that I was remembering looking at listings of. So it says it's in stock, so I click it. And then Mercari throws an error. There's nothing there. And then I'm like, okay, and let me open the picture in another browser tab. It works. So I'm like, cool. And just an FYI, I did check the Wayback Machine just to double check, and you know, there's nothing there. So I'm looking at this, and I was like, you know what? I wonder. So I was looking at the URL up here, and at the end of the URL, let me unplug this iPod thing so I can move the camera up a little bit. So up here is the URL. For the sake of this right here, I don't think that means anything. But what you can do is you can alter the string right there. So it was originally 3, so I'm like, what if I put 1? So I click that, and then there's the picture of the cover. So then, presumably, if I click 2, it's gonna get another one right there. I don't know if there's a 4th picture, but let's find out. Yeah, no 4th picture. We'll just throw you some sort of, you know, error or whatever. But this is exactly what I was looking for. So I've just been working on writing the description. It's kind of the boring part of the video making process and possibly the most tedious. At least, let me pause my music actually. It's also kind of cool. You know Denkare? I don't know their full, like their full name, but I'm pretty sure that's the same. It has the same vocalist as what's that one? Shoot, I don't remember their. I'm totally blanking on that, but you know the people who made the Mirai Nikki opening and stuff like that. Why can I not remember? This is what happens. You have like a million. Yosei Teikoku. Yosei Teikoku. I'm fairly certain it's the same vocalist as Yosei Teikoku. Denkare. I didn't know I had this album in here, but they have like a. It's called Inspirante. This one. And it's like cover songs, and I was like, I never knew I had this one in here because I was looking for Rumbling Hearts yesterday because I'm rewatching Kimi no Uso right now, which I'm probably also going to write a blog about. So I was looking for the OP because I wanted to listen to it, and I didn't remember like what if I categorized it under like the vocalists or whatever. So I just searched it and I saw that this was in there too, and I'm like, what? And Dan kind of made a cover song of Rumbling Hearts, and it's actually pretty fire. So I was going through some of that along with some other songs that they threw on there. Like they did a figure mate cover in a Princess Party, a Seishun Kinshi. Like that's one of my favorite eroge openings because it's so stupid and hype. But anyways, I digress. So what I'm doing right now is like the tedious part of it, trying to make the most uh, fun out of it. But essentially, I'm just kind of going back through the timeline. This is what the timeline looks like on a video. This one is actually really simple because it's just a lot of footage, just straightforward, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this little segment. So in some of my previous videos, the timelines have been a little bit more insane, but I've never been someone who like goes too crazy with editing. I don't think you necessarily need to, but I'm not the best when it comes to editing, especially efficiency wise, I should say. Because like when I'm looking at this edit right here, it's pretty simple, but a lot of it takes a lot of time because I'm doing a lot of cutting of footage. And then when I have a clip that I might want to use later, I kind of just like drag it off all the way to the top over there. I probably could use multiple timelines to organize it, but I've never really reached a point where that might be necessary. Like I just brute force it, and that's what I did when I made the under 17 video. I just like locked in for 2 weeks and edited that thing. That's kind of what I did here. This edit actually took less time, maybe less time overall because I kind of compressed it. Like yesterday, I just did a huge editing session, and then the night before, I edited for 3 hours. Yesterday, I edited for like 5, 6 hours, just to get everything completed. And that also included like the making of the thumbnail, which in this case was actually pretty easy. So I want to show you two things regarding that. So the first is I have two thumbnails because I realized this after I started uploading the video. So this is going to be the final thumbnail. Let me back up because my TV is so massive. The way you can notice it's the correct thumbnail is because it has the correct aspect ratio of 16:9, which the previous thumbnail did not, and I'm going to explain why. And you can tell this one is going to be different because it has the 3 lines up there, whereas this one right here does not. And this is all art I got from the CD scans for the under 17 single for DreamParty with Moto Yume Miyo and Figure ni Naritai in their respective karaoke versions. The scans I also got from Muzukun, who is a big under 17 fan as well, and a cool guy. The reason why this particular thumbnail was a different not a different resolution, but it was a different aspect ratio is what I wanted to get at. Because this was originally uploaded for the blog I have, and the original blog version had everything in this thumbnail. It was a little bit wider, and it distinctly did not have this text in the middle right here, which I got the text as close as I think I could to what the original DreamParty text was. I ran it through one of those websites that's like find the font, and it recommended. I think the first time I ran it, it was like Microsoft Himalaya or something, and it looked pretty close to me. I think there was maybe another one that might have been closer, but yesterday I was just kind of editing it, and I'm like, you know what, this looks good enough. Like most people aren't gonna look at it and say that font is not exactly right. For some things, I do try to get the font to be as close as I can as possible. Like when I was doing the under 17 one, I kind of looked through a ton of fonts on DaFont prior to even knowing this website existed that can just, analyze the text you have and give you a suggestion. I don't remember it off the top of my head though. If anyone's interested, I can link it down in the comments though, because it's really useful. But otherwise, I just kind of put the text there. Got the little DreamParty katakana right above there, just like how it does in the show in the original logo. This is the background that I kind of have scrolling there. I essentially just got the DreamParty logo right here, and then I stitched two of them close together like that, and then I did like, how did I do it? I put a bunch of rows, and then I just rotated it, and I think it looks pretty good. The reason I decided to do it this way is because in the past I wanted to do similar to what Tim Rogers did in the Tokimeki Memorial video where he did the scrolling squares in the background. I always thought that was kind of neat, and I've sort of emulated that to various degrees of success in the past. But one of the problems I always came across was that I couldn't figure out how to loop it, and I've never figured out how to make a repeating background. But the reason I did it this way, I just made it really long, is because I figured, like, well, I can just start it here and then kind of just drag it across using keyframes in Premiere, and I don't have a lot of instances where this is going to be on screen for a long period of time, so I won't necessarily like reach the end and need a kind of loop it. But I wonder if it does loop itself. I don't know. I'll have to figure out. But I've never figured out how to make that like looping background image or whatever for like websites and stuff, like old NeoCities websites. Like on my website, I just grab stuff that other people have. Same thing for my mal. Just random pictures and GIFs that I found. The last thing I did want to touch on in this video is something that I think some people are going to ask about, is why did I decide to shoot the video like this instead of, you know, just doing a traditional screen recording. There's two reasons for that. The first one, I think I wanted to do something a little bit different with this video, and I don't know, I'm not bothered by it, but I always see like people doing screen recording for stuff, and it just, you know, it's fine like that in screenshots. It just never seems like, I don't know what I'm even trying to get at. It just doesn't seem like it's the only way to do something like this. There are different creative ways to do this. I don't think what the solution I reached is necessarily the best one. I think some people are going to be put off by it, but I don't necessarily care, to be honest. I wanted to try something a little bit different, and for this video, since I did have a ton of items that I wanted to look at, like right here I have the stack of various things that I use, except that Kaminomi manga. Like I have the CDs, I have the flyers. Oh, this is playing, and I was like, why do I hear my voice? And it's because it's playing the video. I have the various flyers, and then I have the pamphlets for the DreamParty event, and then I also have like a Comty Cute magazine, which I bought recently that I'm going to do a second channel video about, because it talks about mania spots in Japan, and I was like, this would be really cool to compare mania spots from like 98 or 99 and see how many of them still exist, and how many of them are different. And then also, like, it also had a random little article about like events in Japan that I didn't know about, and I decided to throw it in at the last second to kind of just give a little bit of variety. So in order to achieve some sort of consistency between the two, like, because I was going to be obviously doing a lot of handheld footage for those items right there, I was like, why don't I just do handheld pretty much everything? The only thing I didn't do handheld was for various like pictures and stuff, like when I showcased the Itasha, or what's another one? Like some of the event pictures I decided to do just because they were really nice, and I felt like if I shot them handheld, it wouldn't look as good, because it'd be like a picture of a picture, which is kind of pointless at that point. But I felt like giving it more of a tactile feel to the video was something that I wanted to try to do, just because, like, anyone can, well, I don't want to say anyone can screen record, because then anyone can kind of point their phone at their screen. But this was something I wanted to try, especially after doing the last video about Sotaku no Akihabara Funtoki, or Iotaku, as well as the Maniac Road video, because I had the manga, and yeah, I could have scanned it, same thing, like I could have scanned these things. I literally have a scanner right next to me. I just felt like it would be a little bit more like nostalgic, I guess, to kind of just point my iPod at some like old otaku flyers and stuff, and I think it would ground it a little bit more in the era it came from. I don't know if that comes across. I don't know if like people like that or not, but that's kind of what I was aiming for. And also the other reason why I did this, besides being a creative choice, was just because I found it's a little bit easier to parse footage, because here is what I have: a bunch of bins. So here are all the videos that I used. what I feared would happen with a screen record, and what has happened in the past, like when I did the under 17 one, is that like I would screen record a bunch of videos, and then I would have like one long like 5-10 minute screen record of like different websites and stuff I needed, different sources, and then I would have to like drop that into the timeline and keep cutting it, and I would cut it like 100 times because like I would not think I would need this particular website like 10 minutes from now in the timeline, and then I would end up needing it, and I would have to grab it, cut the exact thing out, and then drop it back in. Whereas this one, like I can just kind of go through and it's like, oh, this is where I was talking about secondhand listings on Surugaya, so then I just grab this, drop it into the timeline, and cut it as needed. I didn't rename all of these because I'm an insane person. I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna take advantage of the fact that I could kind of like seek and get a preview of it with Premiere. Otherwise, I definitely would have needed to rename these. Though the benefit of not renaming them is that like they're all kind of listed in chronological order of when I shot them, so then I'm like, well, I recorded this footage probably like the last day, so then I want to go grab it. So that's kind of what I did. I think it improves the efficiency of my video editing, just because, like I mentioned with like the under 17 one, it gets a little complicated, especially in the case with the under 17 one, because in that one I had the 2003 live footage, which was like an hour and 40-minute long live documentary thing, probably more, maybe less. So like dropping that into the timeline and then needing to grab the exact footage I needed every single time was infuriating. It definitely would have been better to have every single clip I needed, like for example, like, oh, this song is just alive, this song is extensions, this song is Figure ni Naritai, and then kind of just drop it in as needed. Kind of like the benefit of having a YouTube playlist with every song of an album versus having just like one video that has the album and then the time codes in there. Like one of them is a little bit more like pleasing to look at and archive and stuff, but the other one is a little bit more efficient because if you know exactly what you need to listen to, you don't have to worry about seeking across. But anyways, that's a digression. I'm working on the thumbnail to finalize right now, and then I also have the description right here. The video is going to come out later today. It'll probably be released before this video is out, but this is kind of like a little companion thing I wanted to record just to kind of ramble about it, I guess. I don't know.